of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Turkey, the Special Envoy to the United States for the United Arab Emirates, the President of the Republic of Uzbekistan, the Prime Minister of Mongolia, Please welcome the Chairman of the Board of Peace, the President of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump.
Well, this is a very exciting day, long in the making, and many countries have just received their notice, and everybody wants to be a part of it, and we'll work with many others, including the United Nations. But I want to thank you all for being here. Yesterday we had an incredibly successful visit with many of the world's top business leaders, the best, the biggest, most successful, and foreign heads of state. And now we have one of the most important meetings of all, the official formation of what is known as the Board of Peace. I want to thank the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, and Jared Kushner, and their extraordinary work. I mean, they've done an amazing job. We have peace in the Middle East. Nobody thought that was possible. We've settled 8 wars, and I believe another one's coming pretty soon. You know what that is? The one that I thought was going to be an easy one has turned out to be probably the most difficult. Last month, 29,000 people died, mostly soldiers, in Ukraine and Russia. Think of that, 29,000, 27,000 in the month before, 26,000 in the month before that. It's terrible. But we have meetings and we think we're making a lot of progress. Thanks as well to Secretary Scott Bessent, Howard Lutnick, and Chris Wright, U.S. Trade Representative, Jamieson Greer. They're all doing such an incredible job. Ambassador Callista Gingrich, who is here, doing a fantastic, really fantastic work. Thank you, Callista. And many other members of my administration who are so committed to peace, and they're also committed to great success. Very importantly, let me recognize the very first group of distinguished members of the Board of Peace. They will be introduced by name in just a moment. Caroline will be doing that introduction. And to each and every one of you, we are truly honored by your presence today. Leaders of countries, in most cases, very popular leaders. Some cases, not so popular. But that's the way it goes in life. Thanks as well to President Karol Nawrocki of Poland, who's a fantastic man. He just won a very big election. I'm very proud of him. Amazing. Along with former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Tony Blair. Thank you, Tony, for being here. We appreciate it. And members of the Board of Peace Executive Board, great group. This week marks the one-year anniversary of my second inauguration as president. No administration in history has achieved such a sweeping turnaround in 12 months' time at home and abroad. We have a tremendous mandate. We won the popular vote by millions. We won every swing state to 7. They were saying, can you win all 7? Is it possible? Because it's not done. And we won all 7. We have a great mandate back at home. As I said yesterday, the U.S. economy is booming with virtually no inflation. It was 1.2% for the last 3 months. And we inherited the worst inflation in the history of our country. And we have economic growth now of 5.4%, looks like. And I think that number can double and triple if we do the right things. And if we change thinking so that if you announce good numbers, the markets go up, instead of if you announce good numbers, the market goes down because everybody tries to kill it by lowering or raising interest rates depending on the situation. When America booms, the entire world booms. And we have secured commitments for over $18 trillion in new investment coming into our country, which is a record by many times over, not just by a little bit, by many times. There's no country ever in history that's gotten anywhere near that number. Slashed our trade deficit by 77%. This is in 1 year. Yesterday was 1 year. And signed historic trade deals with nations from all over the globe. Today, the world is richer, safer, and much more peaceful than it was just 1 year ago. We put out all those fires. A lot of people didn't know, including me, that some of those wars were going on. And some of them were going on for, in one case, 32 years, in another case, 35 years, and another one, 37 years. We were very happy to stop the war that had started with India and Pakistan, 2 nuclear nations. And I was very honored when the Prime Minister of Pakistan said President Trump saved 10 and maybe 20 million lives by getting that stopped just before bad things were going to happen. As president, I ended those 8 wars in 9 months, including Cambodia and Thailand. And by the way, many of the leaders are here. Kosovo and Serbia, the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Rwanda, Pakistan and India, Israel and Iran, Egypt and Ethiopia. We're working on that right now. I met yesterday with a very good general and a very good leader of Egypt. We're working on a dam that was built which precludes the Nile River from getting water. It's a little tough situation, but we'll get that settled. I really had it just about settled in my first term, and then we had a rigged election. Took me out of commission for a little while, but here I am back. We'll get it settled. But it's a pretty tough situation. A dam was built, and the water doesn't come down to the Nile. When I think of Egypt, I think of the Nile, but I think of the Nile with water in it. Armenia and Azerbaijan, who, I mean, a lot of these leaders have become my friends. They become my friends. They're here. And, of course, the war in Gaza, which is really coming to an end. We have little fires that we'll put out, but they're little. They were giant, massive fires, and now they're down to little fires, so we can put them out very easily. We have 59 countries that are involved in peace in the Middle East. Many of them not in the Middle East. They're near the Middle East, but they're not in the Middle East. And many have said that if Hamas doesn't do what they promised they would do, and I think they probably will, but they were born with rifles in their hands. They were literally born. The first day they had a rifle put into their hands, but they have to give up their weapons. And if they don't do that, it's going to be the end of them. But many countries have told me we want to go in and do it, and they really aren't countries that you traditionally think of as being involved in that. But that's the fire. Hezbollah in Lebanon, we have to do something about that. But these are, I call them remnants. They're small remnants compared to what it was before. It was massive, large, powerful countries fighting each other. In another great victory for the ultimate goal of peace in June, we obliterated Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity with Operation, we call it Operation Midnight Hammer. It was midnight, it was dark, no moon, and every single one of those bombs from the B-2 bombers hit the air shafts and went deep into the earth and totally obliterated everything that they were doing. They were 2 months away from having a nuclear weapon. Can't let that happen. And Iran does want to talk, and we'll talk. We've also hit ISIS in Syria, and very strongly, as you know. In my first administration, I took out al-Baghdadi, the founder of ISIS, and he was trying to start it up again because due to the tremendous talent of General Raisin Kane, as I call him, he wiped out ISIS in a period of 3 weeks in my first term. You know, we had a great first term, but the second term is, I think, blowing it away, actually. But we took out ISIS, and we had, it was gone, but during the Biden administration, it formed again a little bit. We hit it very hard in Syria. And Syria, by the way, I spoke with the president, is making a lot of progress, tremendous progress, actually. We're very happy about that. We took off all sanctions, which gives them a chance to breathe. And he is working very, very hard, and I think he's going to put it all together. So many things are happening, many good things. Threats to Europe and America, the Middle East, and other places are really calming down. It's a lot different than it was just 1 year ago. Just 1 year ago, the world was actually on fire. A lot of people didn't know it. And in Nigeria, we're annihilating terrorists who are killing Christians. We've hit them very hard. They've killed thousands and thousands of Christians. What's that all about? Much of this unprecedented success is possible because I rebuilt our military in my first term, and now we're making it even stronger. We have a budget of over $1 trillion this year, and next year we're going to $1.5 trillion. Our country's never done better economically. We're taking in numbers that we've never taken in, not only the fact that the investment is at 18 trillion plus, but our jobs numbers, everything is, I think, maybe better than ever before. I think you're going to see and a lot of you are investing in our country. I think you're going to be extremely happy with your investments. I think you'll see numbers like you haven't seen before. I also secured commitments from virtually all NATO allies to increase their defense spending to 5% of GDP. Everybody but Spain. I don't know what's happening with Spain. Why would they not do that? They want a free ride, I guess, huh? Every country but Spain increased to 5%. I don't know why. We're going to have to talk to Spain. With America's renewed attention to security of the Western Hemisphere, I've stopped the invasion on our southern border and designated the drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. And you probably saw that we've virtually stopped almost 100% all drugs coming in by water. And now we're going to stop them on land. The land is easy. The water is tough. But that's down now. I heard it just last night. It was 97. Now it's 98.1%. And we're trying to figure out who are the 2% that are willing to get onto those boats. I don't think they watch television or the news. But we've taken out almost 100% of all of the drugs coming into the United States by water. And now we'll, I think, very easily stop them on land. That's the easy part. We wanted to wait till the other was taken care of. And earlier this month, thanks to the unrivaled skill, power, and might of the U.S. military, we have the most powerful military in the world by far. We captured the outlaw dictator Nicolas Maduro, and the people of Venezuela are very happy about it. And we're having great relationships with the new leaders of Venezuela. The relationships have been good. We're opening up the country to our giant oil companies. and it's going very well. We've already taken out, think of this, 50 million barrels of oil, and a lot of that's going to go back to Venezuela. They'll do more income with us in a short period of time than they did in years, because as much oil as they have, and they have a lot, just about the most. After us, there's a couple of countries that are in that category, but we have the most, actually, and they're second between Venezuela and us. We have 62% of the world's oil, but they have very little production, so they'll have a lot of production. All the oil companies, we had meetings, you probably saw, all the oil companies want to go in. They want to go in immediately. They're already touring the sites. But our military was amazing. That strike was amazing. We had a second wave coming. We didn't need it. They said, no second wave. We don't want a second wave. The first wave was enough. And, of course, we're working to end the horrible killing in Ukraine, a war that should never have happened and would have never happened if I were president. That was not going to happen. I used to speak to Vladimir Putin about Ukraine, and it was the apple of his eye, but he would never have ever done it. Said, you can't do that, Vladimir. As part of this historic record of major peace initiatives, today we're announcing more details regarding the Board of Peace, so important. This board has the chance to be one of the most consequential bodies ever created, and it's my enormous honor to serve as its chairman. I was very honored when they asked me to do it. We had an idea to do it, and then they came. They said, you be the chairman. And but I take it very seriously. We have a great group of people and incredible young people that are leading it from within. It's running beautifully, started already. And every country, just about every country, wants to be a part of it. And we just sent out the letters a couple of days ago, and these are just the countries that are here. They happen to be in Davos. So we said, would be honored if you wanted to join us up on the stage. And it's really great. They're friends of mine. I think, let me see. Yeah, every one of them is a friend of mine. A couple I like, a couple I don't like. No, I like, actually, this group, I like every single one of them. Can you believe it? Usually I have about 2 or 3 that I can't stand. Usually I have 2 or 3 that I don't like. I don't find them up here. I like every one of these people. No, they're great people. They're great leaders. And the Board of Peace is composed of leaders, the top leaders in the world, actually. Last October, we released a plan for the permanent end to the conflict in Gaza, and I'm pleased to say that our vision was unanimously adopted by the United Nations Security Council late last year. Under phase 1 of this plan, we have painstakingly maintained that Gaza, and we're going to have it very strongly, and it's what we have, maintained the Gaza ceasefire, delivered record levels of humanitarian aid. We've given aid. You know, you used to hear all the people were starving, and it was terrible. Now you don't hear that anymore. We've delivered record levels of humanitarian aid. I want to thank the United States, but I want to thank some of the countries that are sitting right up here, because they've sent great aid, aid also in the form of money, where we go out and purchase food, and you don't hear those stories anymore with people starving. And secured the release of all 20, we secured the release of all 20 living hostages. Now, I want to thank Steve Witkoff and Jared and everybody for working so hard. They worked so hard, but there were 20 remaining living hostages. Now, we got hundreds out, but the last 20, I said, boy, that's going to be a tough one. I said that a year before, and it was a tough one, but we got them. Got all 20, every one of them. And we had also about 28 that were dead, but the parents wanted them just as though they were living, just as much. Some cases, it almost seemed more. It was amazing, actually, the love. But their boy had been killed in just about all cases, young men. Their boy had been killed, and they wanted the body of the boy, and it looked like it couldn't be done. And with the exception of one, and we're close on the track of that, we've got them all, every single one of them, which is amazing. It's a rough job. That was a rough job. And I've been very clear that Hamas must return that last remaining deceased hostage as well, and that will be the full commitment. And then we get on to other things, and we're committed to ensuring Gaza is demilitarized, properly governed, and beautifully rebuilt. It's going to be a great plan, and that's where the border peace really started. And I think we can spread out to other things as we succeed with Gaza. We're going to be very successful in Gaza. It's going to be a great thing to watch, and we can do other things. We can do numerous other things. Once this board is completely formed, we can do pretty much whatever we want to do, and we'll do it in conjunction with the United Nations. You know, I've always said the United Nations has got tremendous potential, has not used it, but there's tremendous potential in the United Nations, and you have some great people at the United Nations, but so far it hasn't. You know, on the 8 wars that I ended, I never spoke to the United Nations about any of them. And you would think that I should have. You would think they could have done those 8 wars, but they couldn't have. And they tried, I guess, in some of them, but they didn't try hard enough. But there's tremendous potential with the United Nations. And I think the combination of the Board of Peace with the kind of people we have here, coupled with the United Nations, can be, you know, something very, very unique for the world. It's for the world. This isn't United States. This is for the world. As everyone can see today, the first steps toward a brighter day for the Middle East and a much safer future for the world are unfolding right before your very eyes. Together, we are in a position to have an incredible chance. I don't even call it a chance. I think it's going to happen. To end decades of suffering, stop generations of hatred and bloodshed, and forge a beautiful, everlasting, and glorious peace for that region and for the whole region of the world, because I'm calling the world a region. The world is a region. We're going to have peace in the world. And boy, would that be a great legacy for all of us. Everybody in this room is a star, or you wouldn't be here. There's a reason that you're here, and you're all stars. You're the biggest people, the most important people in the world, most powerful people in the world. And when you use that genius that you have, that very unusual, very inspired genius, when you use that for peace, the opposite of peace has no chance. So I just want to say it's tremendous to be with you, and I think this is something that we're doing that's very important. This is the most important. I was so looking forward to being here, and yesterday was a tremendous success. A lot of good things happened, but this was something that I really wanted to be here and do, and I could think of no better place because so many people were together. And now to bring the Board of Peace into full force, I ask Sheikh Isa of Bahrain and Foreign Minister Barita of Morocco to join me in signing and ratifying the Board of Peace Charter. Thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, viewers, that was U.S. President Donald Trump officiating the ceremony for the Gaza Peace of Board. However, there were only 20 nations in attendance, and Donald Trump on your screens right now at the signing ceremony of the Gaza Board of Peace. Trump has made some important statements during his address, including the fact that the UN had tremendous potential, but it was ultimately Trump who has brokered 8 wars, said at the ceremony that the goal of the Board of Peace will be the demilitarization in Gaza. Now, this is happening even as Zelensky has arrived at the World Economic Forum in Davos. As of now, Trump signed the documents formally establishing the Board of Peace. That ceremony being telecast from Davos, from the World Economic Forum, Trump signing Board of Peace Charter and launching board of peace that some fear might rival the United Nations. Donald Trump speaking at Davos to unveil his World of Peace, and those visuals are live from the World Economic Forum. Donald Trump meeting the heads of 20 nations who are joining his board of peace. What is in the framework? It's a part of the prospective deal that includes renegotiating the 1951 agreement that formalized U.S. military presence there. Meanwhile, the Board of Peace will oversee Gaza's reconstruction and seek to resolve global conflicts. He will later meet Zelensky as well, according to some sources. Board of Peace ceremony was attended, however, by fewer than 20 nations, and crucial to note, no European allies are there in this Board of Peace, and none of US's traditional Western European allies. The nations that are represented on stage, they skewed heavily toward the Middle East and South Africa, with leaders from Saudi Arabia, Qatar and the UAE, Argentina and Paraguay among those attending. All right, leaders. Viktor Orban, Hungary's leader, signing. Leaders of Nepal and Indonesia also signing those documents. Hungary and Indonesia signing those details. The Board of Peace documents, live visuals on your screens, viewers. All right, on stage you see leaders from Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, Argentina, Paraguay. Also are present Azerbaijan, Pakistan, Indonesia and Hungary. Viktor Orban was on your screens right now. Trump is also joined by Indonesia and Nepal leaders in the Board of Peace. Right now on air, the leaders of Kazakhstan and Jordan. Viewers, let me take you through the full list of nations present. They include leaders and representatives of Mongolia, Uzbekistan, the UAE, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Paraguay, Pakistan, Kosovo, Kazakhstan, Jordan, Indonesia, Hungary, Bulgaria, Azerbaijan, Armenia, Argentina, Morocco and Bahrain. All right, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif of Pakistan speaking with Donald Trump. Before that, he was holding a conversation with the leader from Kosovo. Trump speaking with Shehbaz Sharif as Pakistan joins the Board of Peace. Once again, viewers, let's take you through the countries that are on board Trump's Board of Peace. Include Mongolia, Uzbekistan, the UAE, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Paraguay, Pakistan, Kosovo, Kazakhstan, Jordan, Indonesia, Hungary, Bulgaria, Azerbaijan, Armenia, Argentina, Morocco and Bahrain. No European member, no European ally of Donald Trump of the US is on board the Board of Peace for Gaza. So Europe and in the UK have both sent a clear message to Donald Trump. This, of course, over his threats to acquire Greenland. Leaders from different countries coming one by one to sign the charter of the Board of Peace. Qatar and Paraguay. Leaders from Qatar and Paraguay signing the Board of Peace right now. Live visuals coming in, viewers, from World Economic Forum in Davos. No European allies at the ceremony. However, countries that have joined are mostly from either Latin America or the Middle East. On the screens right now, leaders of Saudi Arabia and Turkey signing the Board of Peace. Remember, viewers, Israel and Netanyahu had clearly indicated their discontentment over Turkey and Qatar joining the Board of Peace. A leader from Turkey right now signing the charter. Trump, meanwhile, has said he's truly honored by the presence of these leaders. The total number of attendees is fewer than roughly 35, which was predicted by a senior administration official earlier. And it did not include any Western European nations, some of whom have raised concerns over the idea of a board dedicated to peace that might involve adversaries like Russia, that's currently at war with their allies. On screen right now, leaders from UAE, leaders coming one by one to sign the Gaza Peace of both Uzbekistan and UAE leaders signing the charter right now. Visuals from the World Economic Forum Davos Board of Peace signing ceremony. Those who signed the charter include UAE, Qatar, Turkey, Pakistan, Indonesia, all right, this is a leader from Bulgaria signing the charter. All right, viewers, I correct myself, that's leader from Mongolia signing the Gaza Peace of Board of Peace Charter. Let's take you through the countries that are part of the Board of Peace once again. On stage at the Davos Forum include leaders and representatives from Mongolia, Uzbekistan, the UAE, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Paraguay. All right, viewers, Trump there signing the final charter for the Gaza Board of Peace after all the member states have signed their inclusion in Trump's Board of Peace for Gaza's reconstruction. The members of President Trump's Board of Peace just took the stage at the Davos Forum.
If President Trump and all Board of Peace members could please take their seats in the front.
All right, joining me now in this discussion is Ali Mohammed Abushbak, who's a Middle East researcher from Cairo. I'm also joined in by Saul Sadka, political commentator from Tel Aviv. Let's go across to Saul first. Saul, Turkey has signed the Gaza Board of Peace, much to the disenchantment of Netanyahu. How do you view Turkey and Qatar on board?
Correct that Israel is disappointed that Turkey and Qatar have signed on to the Board of Peace. I would also notice Trump's framing of the Board of Peace has almost no reference to Gaza at all. It seems to be that Trump has shifted the Board of Peace issue to something much broader than Gaza itself. And who knows, there are even people that are suggesting that he would like to see this form the kind of basis of a rival to the United Nations, which, to be honest, as we look at the state of the United Nations today, captured as it is by enemies, essentially, of civilization, this might be a very good thing.
All right, viewers, Marco Rubio now giving the address after Donald Trump. Let's hear it.
I believe that it was doable and to pursue it with all of his heart. And he was in that capacity assisted by an extraordinary team. And I think both Jared and Steve deserve a tremendous amount of credit. Jared Kushner and Steve Woodcock for all the work they put in. And all of our partners here today. And now we have this Board of Peace, who I believe's possibilities are endless. Obviously, with a focus, first and foremost, on making sure that this peace deal in Gaza becomes enduring. And I know this president has it as his highest priority and will give it everything he has to make sure that this is successful. I also want to acknowledge the extraordinary leaders that are here today. This is not just a board of peace, this is a board of action. Just like President Trump is a president of action. A lot of times people like to give speeches. I've been to many of these forums, and they're not useless, and they're not, they have utility in many cases. But oftentimes in international affairs, we often find ourselves at events where people are reading these scripted statements, these strongly worded letters that they put out, but no action, nothing happens. This is a group of leaders that are about action. And the President of the United States is a president of action, of getting things done. And today is the beginning of that, of a new era and a new stage that we think is so important as a model to the rest of the world of what is possible. And clearly the focus is right now on Gaza and making sure that the plan that's about to be presented to you here today, this vision for the future of Gaza, this vision for the future of the region, is not just possible and promising. It is our destiny if we put the time and the effort that it requires, as I know this board will do. But I also think it will serve as an example of what's possible in other parts of the world. Without losing focus on what's before us now, this is what's possible for other places and other conflicts that seem impossible to solve right now. So I want to, on behalf of the United States, on behalf of the team that worked so hard on this, thank every single one of the leaders that are here today and all of the countries that have committed to joining, and many others who are going to join. Others either are not in town today or they have to go through some procedure internally in their own country because of constitutional limitations. But others will join. Many want to be a part of this effort because it is going to be a successful effort. And you see it reflected here today among countries of different backgrounds from different parts of the world, majority Christian some, majority Muslim others, who've come together. In fact, former adversaries who have joined here as part of this Board of Peace. And all was possible, and I want to acknowledge this again, because of the vision and the drive of the President of the United States. So thank you all for joining us here today. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Secretary Rubio. Please, if you could now turn your attention to the screens for a video message from the head of the National Committee for the Administration of Gaza, Dr. Ali Shaith.
Distinguished leaders, colleagues, and friends, it is an honor to be here today. I want to start by thanking President Donald J. Trump and his administration for their intensive efforts to advance peace in the whole region. I also thank Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, Qatar, and Turkey as mediators, the Palestinian Authority, and members of the United Nations Security Council for welcoming the comprehensive peace plan. These efforts created the opportunity for a new future in Gaza Strip. But what will really matter is what comes next. This transition will succeed only if it delivers real, tangible improvements in daily life for Gazans. As Chief Commissioner of the National Committee for the Administration of Gaza, it's my responsibility to turn this moment into action, to restore order, to rebuild institutions, and to create a future for the people of Gaza defined by opportunity and dignity, under the principle of one authority, one law, and one weapon. As a first step, I am pleased to announce the Rafah crossing will open next week in both directions. For Palestinians in Gaza, Rafah is more than a gate. It is a lifeline and symbol of opportunity. Opening Rafah signals that Gaza is no longer closed to the future and to the war. I want to be clear, there is much more work ahead, and none of it is easy. The road forward will involve difficult decisions and setbacks, but this is a real step, and it marks a new direction. Now, I would like to address the people of Gaza. من أرض الكنانة أتوجه الآن بكلمتي إلى أبناء شعبنا الصامد الصابر في قطاع غزة. لقد صمدتم وحافظتم على أسركم وأرضكم خلال سنوات عصيبة هجاف صبرت أعماقكم وكل الحدود. إن صمودكم الأسطوري له أعظم ما قدمت غزة، وهو الأساس الذي سنبني عليه سويا مستقبلنا. إن هذه اللحظة ليست للنظر إلى الخلف، بل مضي قدما نحو مستقبل زاهر مشرق، مستقبل ينشأ فيه أبناؤنا بلا خوف وقلق. يكافأ العمل وتفتح المدارس وتستعيد الحياة اليومية استقرارها وأمنها. إن المرحلة المقبلة تتطلب تضافر الجهود من قبل الجميع، ولكنكم لن تواجهوها وحدكم. أصواتكم لها وزن، وأعمالكم لها أثرها، والتزامكم بالسلام وإعادة بناء مجتمعاتكم ستحدد ملامح قطاع غزة الجديد. خطوة بخطوة وبالانضباط والعزيمة سنبني غزة قادرة على الاعتماد على ذاتها، ونرسم مكانها كمركز للحرية.
All right, viewers, we're now joined in by our guests, Ali Mohammed Abushbak and by Saul Sadka. Let's start with Ali. Ali, thanks very much for joining me. Firstly, how do you see that none of the Western European allies of Donald Trump are on board? In fact, not many really from Europe, with the exception of Hungary there in the Board of Peace.
First of all, thank you for having me. The thing is, there's a several of country has a fear about the process or the objective of this peace counseling. A danger for the rule, for the international community and for the human rights. First of all, it's United Nations. This is the rule, a significant rule for United Nations to apply and to investigate about the peace in not only in Gaza. In all
Ali, I'll request you to stop. We have live visuals of speech from Steve Witkoff. Let's listen that.
Secretary of State to work on something that the world thought was impossible and unattainable. But the president, on this peace deal for Gaza, as on all other deals we work on his behalf, said we had to try. And of course, we were inspired by that. We have achieved a peace deal in Gaza. We have brought the hostages home, all of the bodies except for one, and we will bring that body home too. And maybe most importantly, we have created a sense of hope for what the future can bring in Gaza and all other places where the Board of Peace will operate. And I am so honored, Mr. President, to have worked on this on your behalf. I'd like to thank some people here who are here with us tonight who have done so much, done indispensable work to bring this deal together. Sheikh Mohammed, my good friend from Qatar, and Ali Al-Tawadi, Hakan, Fidan, and Ibrahim, General Hassan, and Foreign Minister Badr Abdulati, and of course, President Sisi, and Prime Minister Netanyahu, former Special Envoy Ron Dermer, and Michael Eisenberg for all that they did. I would also like to thank our core working group and members of the Board of Peace who have been working nonstop on behalf of this incredible, noble effort, around the clock for months on end, sacrificing time with their families and their own personal lives because they believe in the mission and the vision that the President has set out for us. I'd also like to thank, those people include Tony Blair, Yakir Gabay, Josh Grunbaum, Aryeh Lightstone, Laron Tonkman, Admiral Cooper, General Frank, and I probably have forgotten some along the way.
And then, perhaps most importantly, I want to thank our administration. We have an incredible team. It's amazing to work for this administration. I think you see the results that we get on behalf of the president because he inspires us so much. So I'd like to thank the Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, for all of his help and guidance, our Treasury Secretary, of course, the Secretary of State, who we work hand in glove with, and a special thanks to our Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles, who is always available to us for consultation, for steering, and for all else that she does. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. And I have to say, one of the great honors for me of being able to work on this has been working with Steve, who really is as brilliant as he is. His heart is tremendous. He's a lot of fun to be with, and even in some of these, very difficult moments where we didn't think things were happening, working together really was an amazing treat. I'm going to go now today just through a couple quick slides just to show you the progress that's been made in the last couple months. It was just over 100 days ago that we got the final deal done, and everyone was celebrating and joyous about the hostages coming home and the end to this long war that nobody thought was possible. And Steve and I were panicking, saying, what do we do next? How do you implement peace? And as you guys know, peace is a different deal than a business deal because you're changing a mindset. And in Israel, there was 2 years of very intense war. For the people in Gaza, there was more than just 2 years of war. They had 20 years of hopelessness being ruled by a terrorist organization. For the people in the Middle East, their hearts were pulled by this. And throughout the entire world, it really was weighing on us. And so we needed to think about, what do we do next? How do we change the habits? How do we change the behaviors? And we really got to work right away. And the team that Steve thanked, including the White House team and the team, the volunteers, it's really been an incredible effort, very entrepreneurial, and we really did it in the way. I've been working now with President Trump for 10 years on politics, and what continues to amaze me is that he always takes a first principles approach and says, what's the most optimal outcome? Aim for that. Whereas politicians are always focused on the downside or what could go wrong or how to make it a little bit better. He always says, aim for the best possible and, do your best to get there. And if everyone thinks it's impossible, that's even more reason why you should aim for it. And so really thank you for the leadership and the inspiration for doing this. And I think you'll see today we've achieved more than thought was possible. And our ambition is still to go for something, I think, better than most people think is possible as well. So let's see if these things work. They never usually work. Good. So quickly, I'll go through this 2-year war, 90,000 tons of munitions. There's over 60 million tons of rubble there and tens of thousands of fatalities. Through the ceasefire, we were able to get to through the 20-point plan, ceasefire, release of hostages. Getting the UN resolution passed was a huge, huge effort, really thanks to Mike Waltz and the whole team there. They did an incredible job. And we've then, with the help of the UN, we've worked very, very well with them. This is why you need a new organization like the Board of Peace to work with the UN. I want to thank Tom Fletcher, did an incredible job of really getting it going. We've done historic humanitarian aid. Going forward, number one thing is going to be security. Obviously, we've been working very closely with the Israelis to figure out a way through de-escalation. And the next phase is working with Hamas on demilitarization, which I'll talk about in a second. But without security, nobody's going to make investments. Nobody's going to come, build there. We need investments in order to start giving jobs. We want to take these people. 85% of the aid of Gaza, 85% of the GDP of Gaza has been aid for a long time. That's not sustainable. It doesn't give these people dignity. It doesn't give them hope. And so we want to use free market economy principles, a lot of what President Trump spoke about that he's doing in America.
All right, viewers, those were U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner addressing the Board of Peace and chalking out a plan for the demilitarization of Gaza. My guests, Ali Mohammed Abushbak and Saul Sadka, continue to remain with us. Ali, you were speaking on the fact that no Western allies, no Western European allies of the U.S. are in this Board of Peace. Please do continue with your answer.
Yeah, so most of the Western countries, they are rejecting to join this peace border. They have a several affair that based on the rule about the future of United Nations and about the Security Council for United Nations. If there is a peace border that heading by Donald Trump, by the way, Donald Trump, he's not a peace man. He's just only talkative man and a show man. What he has done in Venezuela, what he has done in several of countries, in Iran, the bombardment during the 12 day of war, and nowadays threatening Iran and threatening several of countries that he's, and about also Greenland. So all of this showing the intent of Donald Trump. So how he could be lead a peace border for in Middle East. This is a they have a several of pretext for their not joining the border, but also in Middle East, several of countries they are welcoming, but most of them they are not a very strong countries or one of the significant countries in international community or a very reliable or actor in international community. Russia showed its intent to support the border, but the port of peace, but up to now it's not clear either they were going to join or not. What about the peace in Gaza? He claimed that he reached to the peace at a ceasefire in October 2024, but up to now we have seen a several of Israeli violation on the ground. We have seen a several of children have been killed because of the cold, because of Israel's doesn't allow or prohibited for the Palestinian to reconstruct.
All right, while we try to fix that network connection with Ali, Saul also continues to remain with us. Saul, how would you want to respond to Ali, who was speaking out about how Israel continues to violate the ceasefire in Gaza?
Israel has maintained all its obligations under the ceasefire. Hamas's obligation now is to disarm and hand over all its weapons. We all know that that is never going to happen. They will never hand over their weapons voluntarily. But until that time, no one has any argument against Israel on violating any kind of ceasefire, because Hamas is absolutely in breach of the ceasefire. It hasn't handed over its weapons, it hasn't disarmed, it hasn't handed over any of its jihadi fighters, and it is still holding the body of an Israeli, which it stole more than 2 years ago.
Saul, with Turkey and Qatar on board, what does this board of peace really mean for Israel?
Israel didn't want Turkey and Qatar on board because Turkey and Qatar, certain parts of the administrations in Turkey and Qatar are in favor of Hamas and support them via their allegiance via the Muslim Brotherhood. And yet at the same time, it must be recognized that the deal that was forced on Hamas to hand over the hostages could not have happened without them. It was only when Hamas's backers in Turkey and Qatar realized that their situation with Trump wasn't going to go forward and that their geopolitical position was very weak, as long as Hamas continued to hold the hostages, that they managed to essentially trick Hamas into handing over all but one of the hostages. And that really, at that point, was the end of Hamas as a threat to Israel and of any interest to the world. So they deserve some credit for that, and so having them on the board of peace is probably part of that deal.
All right. Crucial also here to note, as far as this board of peace is concerned, is that of the United Nations Security Council permanent 5 members, except for the US, there's no other on board. How do you think this is going to affect this board of peace, and how do you think its functioning is going to be much different from UN? Although Trump is saying it's not a body that's meant to replace the United Nations, although he did say that UN could not end up resolving the conflicts that he has taken credit for.
Right. It's hard to know what the future holds for it. My guess is that genuinely this is meant, and there are certain people I've spoken to that give me the impression that this is meant as a seedling of something that will grow into a rival to the United Nations, something that's very desperately needed in the world because the United Nations has been hijacked. But the presence of all these countries, there's no question. I mean, you certainly wouldn't want Russia on a board of peace. That would be absurd. They are currently involved in a number of wars in Africa. And of course, they are currently reenacting World War I in the fields of Ukraine in a war of conquest, the likes of which Europe hasn't seen since World War II. And China, you certainly wouldn't want on the board either. They are building up an army and they have plans in the near future, wage war on Taiwan, a US ally. So those people don't really belong on any kind of board of peace. And as for France and the United Kingdom, my guess is that they will join in the near future. At the moment, they are not cooperating with Trump because of the ongoing fracas over Greenland. But my guess is they will join in the very near future.
But what gives you the confidence to say that France will join the Board of Peace eventually?
The current difficulties between the European Union countries, the UK, and the United States revolve around the issue of Greenland. Trump has made it his mission to turn Greenland into a US territory. And most likely the plan there is to pay off Denmark with money, to pay off the Greenlanders with money, and make it a US territory by consent. And he's talking a big game and threatening all sorts of things that he really can't make happen. As a result, there is a certain tension right now between these European nations and the United States. And as a result, that is probably the reason why France and the UK did not agree to join the Board of Peace. But that is, after all, speculation on my part.
All right. Ali is also back with us in the discussion here. Ali, now Trump is saying that the Gaza Board of Peace can go beyond Gaza. Where will this board then be limited if it is going to go beyond just the demilitarization of Gaza?
First of all, he couldn't access to peace in Gaza. And maybe he was mentioning about Lebanon and the conflict between Ethiopia and Egypt. But up to now, he couldn't success in stop the killing machine in Gaza. He couldn't stop, or he couldn't success to stop the war as well as in Lebanon. Up to now, not according to me, according to Israeli human rights organization, Beit HaShalom, Beit Salem. There is a several of more than 100,000 Israeli violation in Lebanon and more than 200 Israeli violation in Gaza on the ground. This is according to the Israelis human rights organization. But up to now, Donald Trump is just only living in his House will be over. He will still lead the international community and the world. But this is not only, this is only, in my opinion, a dream. This peace board, it will not success since that there is no reach for peace in Gaza, and there is no any solution for the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. There is no any future for the Palestinian statehood. And there is no any future for the rule of the United Nations in Middle East. If United Nations couldn't success to end the conflict between Gaza and Israel that sparked in 2023, up to now, Donald Trump, he couldn't. He could claim that he returned just only the Israeli hostages. But what about Palestinian? He couldn't stop the Israeli killing machine. He couldn't enter the Palestinian essential items or essential supplies for the Palestinian in Gaza. The desperate Israeli settlement is still, up to now, it's like a council in West Bank, and it
All right, Saul, would you like to respond to some of the points that Ali was raising, our previous guest?
Yes, there's absolutely no question. Israel hasn't got any patience for this kind of nonsense propaganda anymore. Israel is not in any way, they managed to get through 2 years of war with that kind of endless lying and propaganda. And it stood firm and said, no, these people, terrorists, Hamas are going to be eradicated. And that's exactly what happened. Now Hamas is a fraction of what it used to be. Hezbollah is a fraction of what it used to be. The Assad regime is gone. All the terrorists that were arrayed on Israel's border are now either completely gone or nearly gone. And as they try to rearm, Israel will continue attacking them and blasting them to bits. And they are not going to apologize for that in any way. And there will be no peace in the Middle East. There won't be peace for Jews and there won't be peace for Arabs until such time as the Arabs of the region accept that there is a Jewish polity in their midst and they have the right to be there, and they will stop trying to eradicate them, as they have done now.
All right, so I'll have to interrupt you there. Donald Trump is speaking. Let's hear him.
An honor to be involved with this and to be involved with the great people in this room and the great leaders that are sitting on stage. We thank you very much. And we have many others that have signed up, and they all want to be members of the Board of Peace because it really will be important. This is not going to be a waste of time. We waste so much time on things that never happen. This will happen. And it's already happening. Thank you very much, everybody. It's a great honor to be with you. Thank you. Thank you.
President there concluding the ceremony at the World Economic Forum of Peace of Board for Gaza's reconstruction. Let's remind you, 19 countries have signed the charter for the Peace of Board for Gaza. 35 were expected or had committed to this Board of Peace, but in attendance in this ceremony were only 19 nations. Qatar, Turkey, Saudi, UAE, Egypt, Belarus are among the countries that had committed to the Board of Peace. In fact, let's take you through the full list of countries that have accepted the invitation. These include Mongolia, Uzbekistan, the UAE, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Paraguay, Pakistan, Kosovo, Kazakhstan, Jordan, Indonesia, Hungary, Bulgaria, Azerbaijan, Armenia, Argentina, Morocco, and Bahrain. Now, Trump has denied that the Board of Peace is meant to replace the United Nations, but he says that it does go beyond Gaza to address global challenges, as some fear that it may be rivaling the United Nations. And once again, taking you through the full list of countries who are in the Board of Peace for Gaza are all right. I'm now joined in by Aharon Levarko. He's an Israeli journalist and he joins us from Netanya in Israel. Thank you very much for joining us in this discussion. What's your first comment on this new Board of Peace and the member countries that are on board and those who committed but did not attend the ceremony?
Well, thank you for having me. Well, there's a sense of optimism. Donald Trump's leadership in doing this, bringing people to the table who, to some degree or another, are committed to moving ahead with peace. That's a huge word, peace, whatever that means. It doesn't mean a cessation of war, doesn't mean disarming these questions. We're going to see the outcome. You know, this task of rebuilding Gaza, you know, just to clean it up is going to take a number of years. So, yeah, there's optimism, there's hope, but then there's another side, and that's there's concerns. There's concerns of things like, you know, one of Donald Trump's goals in the 20-point plan was the disarmament of Hamas. Number two, the de-radicalization of the area, and these haven't been achieved yet, and that was in phase number one. So when we you know, a couple of months ago when Donald Trump was here in Israel and he struck this deal, there was a mass amount of hope and excitement, but here we are later and two key points have not yet been reached and we're already moving on to phase two. So hope, but definitely concerns, and we're going to see it unfold before our eyes. It's very historic. Let's hope for the best.
All right, Aaron, thanks very much for speaking to us. I request you to continue to stay on with us. Viewers, for now, we're going to conclude this edition of the World Report on NewsX World, but do stay tuned as we bring you every minute-by-minute update from the World Economic Forum and from all parts of the world right here on NewsX World.